So now that we've heard about our partner's business, I think it's a great time for you to hear about our partner business. And I think I feel really lucky today to be able to introduce our next speaker. He's my fellow American, and he has come all the way from Seattle to see you here today and talk about the opportunity that's available in the market from a worldwide partner perspective. So please help me in welcoming to the stage our Corporate Vice President of our Worldwide Partner Group, Mr. Phil Sorgen. Thanks.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. I thank you for coming out. Look, in this presentation that I want to share with you today, there's really four things I want to accomplish in this discussion. First, I just want to introduce you. I've only been in this role for 6 months, but I've been at Microsoft for over 18 years, so I'll tell you a little bit about my background and why I took this job, because I think it will say a lot about how I plan to execute in this role over the years to come. Second thing I just want to do is thank you, and we'll talk more about that. Third, I want to share with you a little bit about transformation, and it was great to hear the two partners talking about that. In some ways, maybe even far more credible than me, but what my words will represent is a lot of yous really studying, listening, talking to partners across various geographies, and really a lot of different business models represented by those partners. A little bit about the transformation that we all have ahead of us for those that choose to participate. And then last, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about just my views on partnering around how we make sure that we have a partner ecosystem, what we're doing at Microsoft to ensure a partner ecosystem that is healthy for the long term, and how I look at that across Microsoft. What are the pillars that I evaluate every single day? And again, we'll give you some insights as to how we'll try to execute as a company. So first about me. As I said, 18 years at Microsoft. All of those 18 years were either in the U.S. or the Canadian subsidiary. The point I make in that is, first, I'm a field sales person, first and foremost, who has spent my entire career selling with the likes of you, various business partners around the world, going out and winning business with our customers. It's been across all customer segments, from small and mid-sized businesses to having responsibility for VARs and distributors to the largest enterprise customers. In Microsoft Canada, I was the president of Microsoft Canada, so I had our entire business from end to end, from consumer through commercial. A lot of experiences I think I've developed in North America that I'm confident have applicability around the world. But since I've been in the role, I've been traveling as many places as I can get to hear from partners, introduce myself, to meet new colleagues and learn about ideas and best practices, the things that other people are doing in other parts of the country. So that can inform the decisions we make on a worldwide basis. Now, I want to thank you for being partners at Microsoft. I always do this at the start of every presentation. I don't get an opportunity to be in front of a group this large every single day. I try to be in front of groups of you as often as I can. So first, it's just for the work you do in serving our mutual customers. We're not confused at Microsoft. The customers are North Star, and I know none of you are confused. Your North Star is your customers. That's what we live for every single day. But the work we do in creating a platform and technology and all the capabilities that are inherent in our products come to life through the work that you provide, the value-add solutions you put on top of that, the innovation you put on top of our innovation. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where the benefit is recognized. And we're in a particular time of change. I'm trying to think how many times as I was sitting over there I heard the word either transformation or change. And it really speaks to what's going on. And change can be challenging to any partnership. It puts pressure on partnerships for sure. What worked in the past will not necessarily work the same way in the future. But what's important during this time is that we have a clear sense of vision of where we're going, and we work hard to have the right communication and discussion so that we can successfully leverage each other's strengths as we go forward. One thing we're quite certain about, and this speaks to why I took the role in this, is In 18 years, I've loved this industry. Actually, I've been in this industry 25, 18 years at Microsoft. But in this industry, it's always been changing. I mean, if you don't like change, you're in the wrong industry. We all know that. But what's a little bit, I'd look at this transformation as potentially different than some of the others. For Microsoft, I always say if it's fundamentally changing your P&L, that's a pretty significant transformation. We know software is at the core of everything. To be successful in devices and services, it takes making great software. But the relationship between what we're delivering to our customers, our responsibility to our customers, the role the partner plays, that changes a bit in our evolution to a device and services company. But we fundamentally know, just as we did in the past, to be successful in the future, it will require an incredibly successful partner ecosystem. So we go into this journey, we go into this transformation knowing that our success is directly connected to a successful partner ecosystem. So I came in here and I looked and said, this kind of transformation, what an opportunity to come in and run the Worldwide Partner Group, because that's how confident I am. One, that we're creating the solutions, we're making the right investments, we're making the right bets to enable partners to build healthy, successful businesses. But I wanted to be a part of bringing that partner ecosystem with us. So thank you for participating with us. We know there's going to be some learnings along the way. There's going to be learnings for you. There's going to be learnings for us. We're going to do a lot of listening, and we're going to keep adjusting. And I know many of you are going to have to make the necessary adjustments in your business to be successful, to be sure that what works tomorrow is what your organizations are focused on. So let's talk a bit about transformation. I want to start with a mention by the new CEO of Microsoft. As you heard, we're about 3 weeks into the tenure of, I believe it's our third CEO in the history of our company, which is pretty staggering from a standpoint of if you think about the tenure of our company and that it's just the third CEO. But there's a couple of things that I want to point out. He'll have lots of opportunities to speak for himself. First, he came from Microsoft. He's been with Microsoft a long time. Many partners are familiar with Satya because he's communicated quite frequently with our partners. He's been a regular presenter at our Worldwide Partner Conference, including last July in Houston. There's a couple of things that stand out in what he says. This is one of the first meetings I had with him, and I captured a quote from one of the meetings, in that this company was built on enabling broad ecosystems and broad partner opportunity. One of the first discussions I had with him, he emphasized that important point. Second, we now need to redefine what it means to build an ecosystem in a mobile-first, cloud-first world. We're very, very committed to this direction we're on. You heard about the devices and services. We're going to be continuing that path under his leadership. And that's what we're going to continue to push for. So we talk about, I'm not going to spend much time on devices and services, a great job there, but I want to talk a little bit about where we see this transformation occurring. And this is where we see the greatest opportunity for each of you, for us, in what our customers are telling us is important to them. Now remember, customers don't buy social, they don't buy mobility, and certainly no customer will ever buy big data. But in solving the things that they're trying to do, when they're trying to differentiate themselves from their competition, when they're trying to figure out how they grow their next million, 10 million, 100 million, billion, depending on their size company that they are, it's in these categories that they're looking to evolve their businesses. And I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of them. In social, this is really about the workflows that they can create. They have a different workforce today than they did in the past. When you look at the millennials coming into their workforce, they have to make sure that the people they're hiring are as successful communicating and collaborating as every generation of employee they've had. They're interacting across firewalls more than they have, and yet it's becoming a critical capability that they can communicate with their partners. Very few companies in the competitive global landscape that we're in today can do end-to-end business by themselves. There's more partnerships in the market, and they have to make sure that works. And social, candidly, becomes one of the most powerful tools for promoting your company today. So there's a lot of opportunities for our partners to position these kinds of solutions. Now, mobility is an interesting scenario. We have more and more companies participating in what many have coined this new world of work. Their employees are out closest to where they can make the greatest impact. If they're servicing, they're closest to the customers. If they're selling, they're closest to the customers. If they do business, if they run an operation, they're closest to where the operation is or to where the partners are that are providing that part of their supply chain. Making sure that they can feel as connected and that they can work most effectively through the devices is critically important. And making sure you have a platform. And this is an area that provides an interesting differentiator for us. We talked about some of the various devices, but there is no company whose platform spans more modalities, from large workstations all the way as large as the perceptive pixel devices that allow you in a conference room to interact in a meeting, to laptops, to convertibles, to tablets, to phablets, to mobile devices. And the key is understanding what is the need of each individual role within an organization that's working. How are they best going to consume the applications? In a world of applications, what's the best way to consume, and what device will provide that experience for them? And then ensuring that you can manage those devices. You can control and secure that data, and you can provide future applications in a way that meets the needs of the companies you serve. A unique opportunity there. Big data, why I wanted to highlight a point on big data is, again, I said it before, nobody buys big data. What companies are buying is the answers to questions. They want to understand, where can I get the greatest return on marketing investment? What is the most logical next customer I can sell to based on the propensity data? How can I turn mountains of data into information for my workers? And partners are uniquely positioned to represent that value add. Now, interestingly, the buyer of big data, that's a different buyer than we may have been selling to in the past. The buyer in many of these scenarios is changing, and we have to be aware of who's driving the influence in those organizations. If we go in on a sale around helping a company determine where they can get the greatest return on marketing investment, and we lead with Power BI and SQL Server, we probably lost at that moment. We have to lead with the solutions that are going to represent their business. Some of you are aligned vertically, and your vertical expertise is helping customers realize what their potential is. Some of you are building scenarios or applications on top of this that rapidly get a customer to the position of exploring the avenues that or the areas that they don't know. One of the biggest challenges in this space is customers don't know what they don't know. They don't even know what they can possibly ask for, and we can show them that. Cloud is interesting because it spans all of that, and that's where I want to spend the most time, and what we've been spending a lot of time on today. So I want to talk about cloud from a standpoint of how I'm finding partners making money in the cloud, because cloud really spans all of those areas that we discussed earlier. Now, the most credible source was just up here. You heard two different examples of how they took their journey to the cloud. But I actually want to introduce a third type of company. I want to tell a story, and then I'm going to come back to this slide. There's a partner that I actually worked quite closely with for some period of time. They were a classic system integrator. To give you an estimate of size, they were about a $75 million consulting firm. They had 4 gold certifications. Their business areas that they focused were predominantly BI, application development, collaboration, or productivity, as well as a little bit of infrastructure, mostly to support the projects that they were doing in the other areas. So that was a little bit about the company they were. They made a decision to start participating and selling cloud-based solutions. Now, in this particular case, they sold their first, and they sold their second, but they weren't seeing the flywheel of growth. That was the first point. Second, as they got into this, they found out that it's not the business just wasn't they weren't seeing the deal margin that they were that they really wanted relative to what their sellers were used to selling. Their sellers were selling the same way they had sold before, the same kinds of offerings that they had sold before, packaging them similarly to what they had sold before, but they were introducing the cloud into it. And they realized that their path forward was not doing what they did in the past to sell the new. So what's interesting about this company is they went to their investors. They were a private company to get because they made a decision they were going to invest in a standalone company that sat beside their company. It was going to be within the same organization, but it was literally a standalone organization. Its own sales force. They were going to have architects that were specifically trained in the cloud moving into that organization. They were going to build, and this is one of the biggest parts of the investment, a managed services business that provided very specific capabilities that they could sell to their customers. And as they brought on more customers, the key was that was a shared service kind of model that the profitability would go up and up as they sold more of the managed services. By the way, some of those managed services were first-line support, help desk, desktop management, doing some of the network management as well. Actually, a lot of things that companies that have a propensity to move to the cloud start looking to potentially consider for partners to do as well, because those aren't the things that differentiate them in the marketplace and determine their success. The next thing that they did is they built a true library of repeatable IP, methodologies that they could apply. Now that's been the dream of every consulting firm, is to really leverage repeatable IP. Not always easy to do. You know it can drive down your cost of delivery. It certainly helps your sales cycle, but it was often hard to do. So I kind of told you what they invested in. They sold to their investors that they could get a return on investment. They'd break even in 18 months. So I'm going to fast forward to what actually happened with this particular partner. What actually happened is they broke even within 10 months, and there were a couple of theories they had going into it that turned out to be quite different than what they expected and exceeded their expectations. The first theory was when they stood up the standalone business on, next to their traditional business, that it would that the primary customer, their first customers, would be the customers that they had, or I should say their mix of customers would be a large percentage of their existing customer base. That first theory turned out not to be true. 65%, now 2 years into this journey for them, 65% of their customer base, within the first year, it's even more now, 65% in the first year of their customers were new customers. They found customer acquisition accelerated significantly. And here's an interesting point on that. Why it accelerated so fast is in their old model, being a system integrator, a local system integrator in a market, it was a very local business. You had to have a seller locally. You needed more of your delivery resources locally. What they found is they were starting to sell deals and get new customers in geographies they didn't even have people. It was a pretty interesting transformation, not one they were fundamentally expecting. Second theory they had is that their deal margin in the world of the cloud would go down. And now this company happened to use deal margin as a standard metric for each of the opportunities that they drove. What they found is they really brought repeatable IP to life. When there was a consistent back end, and the only inconsistency in what they were positioning with their customer was the customer's current and existing environment, they were really able to provide standard templates, standard methodologies, standard approaches that they were able to leverage across. They were so much more predictable in their bidding work. They were so much more as a percent of their business that they were leveraging. Their deal margin actually went up relative to the other. Third theory they had. Third theory was that this was going to cannibalize their existing traditional business. They would slowly start to see that business decline. I already told you that 65% of their business was new customer acquisition, and I heard earlier in the discussion today that 95%, I believe the number was hybrid. Interesting. When you go into an account and acquire a new customer and take them to the cloud, and 95% was hybrid, guess what was the greatest asset to them in serving those customers? It was their experience in the traditional side of their business. And they started cross-referencing and bringing in the other side of their business into these opportunities. All of a sudden, that business was growing. Not quite as fast as their cloud business, but it was growing in a complementary way. Really interesting set of dynamics that led to a 10-month ROI. Now one of our fastest growing, actually, cloud partners in the U.S., which was a business I was in previously. Why do I tell you that story? Not that that partner size or that partner business model is identical to any of yours. It's to get everybody thinking about the possibilities. By the way, that isn't the way you have to transform to the cloud. You don't have to go to investors. You don't have to say, I need to stand up a standalone business. There might be some interesting examples in there of things for you to think about and how you might be able to implement or how you think you might want to transform in your business. There's some tried and true practices in there. But I really wanted to share that story to get everybody thinking from a standpoint of the ways that you could possibly think about. What's your ambition? And how fast do you want to get there? And what are you willing to do if you believe that that's your future and that's where you want to go? And how do you do it in a way that's complementary with what you do so well today, that what's driving your P&L today? So I said I'd take you back to the slide. Everything you just heard me say, that partner, using it through the lens of that story, it was all about for them moving from the kinds of things they had originally done. A lot of business consulting and customization. They thought it was going to be about doing this assessment, and they were just tying project services. That was their first version of how they went to the cloud. It was project services just like they had done in the past. What they were lacking from their product portfolio as they really wanted to accelerate to the cloud is these areas that they could make significantly more money and significantly more deal margin. Moving to managed services where as their customer base grew, their profitability only got better. Moving to IP services, repeatable IP. They started getting so much experience, they started writing, because as I mentioned, they were an application development shop as well. They started writing code that enhanced some of the migrations. They started writing custom features that help with workflow that were unique to them. They've decided not to be an ISV, in a sense, using that description of partner type. They just tie a lot of this IP into the value add they bring when they sell and in how they add more value to the deals they close. So those are the ways that we see that we see companies, partners. As I talk to various partners around the world, these are the ways they're seeing their business escalate. These are the ways they're seeing the growth in their businesses. So I wanted to share that with you. Moving to the third, or I guess I would say the third thing I wanted to share with you today is how I go into thinking about the partner pillars that really fundamentally define our relationship together. When I think about our relationship and how, as the, quote, channel chief in Microsoft, the pillars that I'm going to look at to ensure we're driving balance across these over an extended period of time come into four areas. The first one, I know I have three on here, but I'm actually going to give you a fourth. The first one is really fundamentally about product. It's fundamentally about product. Let me explain why. We invest $9.5 billion every single year in R&D. Actually, it was 9.6 is our last published, but over $9.5 billion every year in innovation to keep building products, to keep innovating products, to keep creating the kinds of technology that you can build a business around and that our customers want. Because if Microsoft doesn't keep building the kinds of capabilities that you can build a business on and that customers want, the rest of the pillars don't matter. I don't care how much I focus on enablement. I don't care how close I am, how many of these we invite you to, the great dialogue with transparency we have with you. If you can't build a business and customers don't want it, you're not going to stay with us, and you're going to look at other areas. So first, we know as a company that's been at our core since the beginning, we're going to out-innovate over time, work hard to out-innovate over time all of the competition in the marketplace, and we're going to keep investing in doing that. The second thing is creating markets. incredibly inefficient if you have to go if in every country we do business in around the world, our partners are left with the burden of bringing awareness to the product, making sure there's unaided awareness, making sure that when they're selling their solutions and it gets down to technology choice, the customer's not sitting there saying, who's the company providing that base technology? What is that product you're talking about? Now, in this particular case, this is becoming increasingly important. In a world of cloud, where customers are now asking, who's the company that is going to be possessing my data when I start putting more of my capabilities in the cloud? The surveys we've done is they want a trusted company, and Microsoft is a trusted brand globally, and we're going to keep working hard to be a trusted brand globally. The third one is around partner enablement. Now, partner enablement is a broad category. I mentioned that we took pride in spending $9.5 billion, investing $9.5 billion in R&D. Well, we take an equal pride in investing in our partners' innovation. We invest about $4 billion a year broadly across everything we do, from investments to readiness to incentives and the like, in our partner ecosystem. In the enablement space, if you had to do all the skilling from scratch, all the readiness, all the training, sales, and technical in your organizations, that's not highly efficient. We try to provide a platform for that and give you access to those resources. Some of you customize beyond that, but we want to make sure we're investing heavily in the resources to allow you to train your organizations. We provide marketing tools, the ready-to-go marketing engines, so that you can take templates and leverage those and customize them. We have Logo Builder. We have many other investments that we put in market. We also have incentives programs that are aligned to the things that we're trying to accomplish together. So this is an important area that we continue to invest in this ecosystem. And the fourth pillar that determines the overall success, I share because as I sit here in the UK, having run Microsoft Canada for a number of years, Microsoft takes pride in being a great business locally. We're in 152 countries. We don't want to just do business in Great Britain. We want to be a great British company. And by having a subsidiary model where we have a leader like Linda who's responsible for the partner ecosystem in the UK, and we have that in all the other markets we serve, it allows us to listen locally. It allows us to adjust locally. That differentiates us from many, many other technology companies in the world. And we think that's an incredible asset to you and an incredible asset to us, that we can make sure that we're working hard to be acutely aware of local market conditions. Now, I mentioned those four pillars because it's really important that you understand how I'm thinking of the balance we have to achieve. Now, clearly, as the head of the Worldwide Partner Group, I don't own all of that. I certainly don't own the $9.5 billion in R&D. But it's my job to be your number one advocate at the company and say, how balanced are we on our four of those pillars? Are we making the right investments when I look at the blueprints around the world, in the local models, in the local subsidiaries? When I'm working with the business groups and they're thinking about the platform, how are they thinking about bringing that product to market through a partner lens? I have a lot of involvement in the enablement, and I'm working with marketing to create more calls to action directly out of the marketing efforts we provide to direct towards our partner community. So you can see how all four of those have to be in balance. It starts with number one that I mentioned, but all four of those have to be in balance over time. And that's what you can count on me to work on. So that's a little bit about what I will be focused on in this role, and I'm incredibly excited about the opportunity. I can assure you that having been through 18 years of transformations in this business, I've never been more confident in the kinds of capabilities we're bringing to market and the kinds of opportunities those capabilities mean for the partner ecosystem. And I use the word partner ecosystem in a pretty broad sense. There used to be a day I could look at a group and say, hey, I'm talking to a group of VARs, I'm talking to ISVs, I'm talking to system integrators, I'm talking to service providers. Those days are behind us. We see every single day, when I look in this room, I don't even have to know all of you, but there's not any one of those single partners here in this room today. The partner types are blurring. Now it's about the business models you're pursuing, and I could bet if I showed, as I said, all of those, from reseller to VAR to system integrator and ISV, if I asked for a show of hands of how many of you participate in at least 2 of those business models, I'm betting most of the room will go up. Let's test it. How many of you participate in more than one business model as a partner? It's pretty much most of this room. So as we look forward, it's an interesting opportunity across these dimensions. There's a lot of capability in this room, and our channels of communication to you across these 4 pillars can't be in the narrow range to an individual partner type. We'll be expanding those channels significantly to make sure you know about all the broad opportunities that are available to you. So with that, during this partner event, I hope you take advantage of the time here. I hope some of the things we're sharing are the kinds of things that just spark a thought. Turn on that light bulb to make you think, as I evaluate my business, as I evaluate where we want to go, am I challenging myself the right way? Am I thinking about the right way? Ask your peers. Ask the Microsoft people that will be here. You get to determine your answer for the cloud. There's not a single answer. You heard 3 different. You heard 2 from partners, and you heard me tell a story of a partner I'm close to that were 3 different stories, 3 different partner profiles. Everybody's path to the cloud, just like our customers' paths will be different, your paths will be different. But we're very confident having a plan, a point of view, a definition of your ambition is really important right now, and you push yourself aggressively towards that ambition. And make Microsoft work for you. The Partner Portal, we're continuing to take your feedback. If you haven't been there lately, we continue to make navigation easier. We continue to make finding the things you're looking for in a timely way easier, and we're continuing to optimize it for the reality of partners that participate in lots of businesses with us. So that takes me to my exciting, my favorite event. And it's not my favorite event because I'm the channel chief at Microsoft. It's been my favorite event for years and years. Every year I look forward to July when we have our big worldwide partner conference. This year it's in a phenomenal city back in Washington, D.C., which is one of the favorite cities, at least as our partners that participated have told us over the years. So we're hoping we can see many of you there. Now I'm going to invite Linda up because if myself and all the people that preceded me didn't wow you with our words, I'm not above giving something away.
Yay! Gotta love a giveaway.
I know, it happens. But this is actually I think it's a pretty cool gift. I hope you will think it's a pretty cool gift. Someone here who I draw out of this will get a $2,000 full conference pass to Worldwide Partner Conference this summer. So, and I'm going to make a rule that everybody here sitting in the room likes is you must be present to win. Oh, I dropped one out, but I got this is the one. Io Akapo?
Io Akapo.
Io Akapo.
Great. Fantastic.
Come on up. Congratulations.
Come on up.
Congratulations, my friend. There you go.
We're excited.
Let me pass this along to you, and that will give you all the access codes so that you can register for WPC in Washington, D.C. I'll look forward to seeing you there. Yeah. Thank you again.
Great. Welcome. Thanks so much. Thanks for being here. Great. So, thanks so much for, again, being here with us today. I think probably a lot of people in the audience have some questions, but we've asked people to submit questions beforehand. I'll just ask a couple of them for you before we finish up here. So you've been in this role now for 6 months and kind of traveling throughout the world. What would you say are some of the most common characteristics for partners that you really see having a lot of success and taking advantage of the opportunity that's out there today?
Yeah, I mean, some of that I started to frame in the discussion. There's a couple of, one of the things that I found interesting is while there's a lot of differences from country to country, when you're really talking about transforming business models, the challenges are the same everywhere you go. And it starts with having a vision and an ambition and a clear stated objective of where you want to go. The second part is having the confidence within your organization to build the necessary capabilities. I sometimes use the word invest. Not everybody wants to use the word invest in the same way, but it's going to take some focus and attention in your organization to start moving the momentum. One thing we know about organizational dynamics is if you let them keep doing what they've always been doing, they're going to keep doing that. And if the business moves beyond you because you kept doing what you've been doing, that's going to be a lost opportunity. The third thing is, as I've talked to partners, is building systems within your organization to ensure you're getting where you want to go. If you don't have the right KPIs, the milestone points that are determining, are you making the necessary progress? Are you building them into your incentive systems? Are you building them into the kinds of bonuses for your senior leaders? Are you ensuring that the deal mix, that you're working extra hard to introduce the kinds of capabilities I mentioned earlier, if you're investing in those capabilities, are actually in the proposals going out by your sales force? When you do, that's a critically important part. Inspecting during a period of time and inspecting those transformational indicators are critically important. And then the last piece is, don't be afraid. It's really important to be self-critical and self-aware of the progress you're making. It's not the kind of process that will be perfect from the get-go every single time. I mean, Microsoft, holy cow, in this transformation to the cloud, which, by the way, hasn't happened in the last 12 months. We've been at this for 5 years. We are humble enough to say, boy, did we make some mistakes along the way. Boy, did we listen to customers. Wow, did we listen to partners. And oh, have we adjusted. You look at what we have in market, the models we have in market for selling, the capabilities, the support integration. There's so many areas that we had to be willing to say, all right, we learned from that one. It's time to move on, and it's time to adjust and make sure we're rapidly, at the speed of the market, that we're rapidly adjusting.
Great. Thanks for that. And I think I would agree. I mean, we see a lot of those similar characteristics with our partners that are really, really pushing the envelope here in the UK as well. You talked about the 4 pillars and how that kind of guides you in terms of your thinking of, how we move the business forward. What are some of your key priorities for the channel as you move forward?
Well, when I came into this job, I put a couple of pillars out there. One was the transformation itself. You could say to the cloud, because that's pretty loud and important and in the press and in the market, and customers are talking a lot about it, but it's really across those megatrends. So the transformation's the first one. The second one is I had talked to a lot of partners. I was contemplating next kinds of opportunities, and in my last role, core part of my job, albeit just for the U.S., was being responsible for the partner business in the U.S. I heard loud and clear, we've got to strike a harmonious balance between stability and being agile in a market that's moving incredibly fast. Everybody would say, wow, Microsoft, don't stand still. We've bet a lot on you. You have got to keep moving. You have got to be aggressive. You can't be left behind. We've bet on you. But at the same time, do it in a way that ensures the kind of stability, because we have to keep up with you. And that's a tricky balance. It does tell us a couple of things. Prioritize what has to change. And then if it doesn't have to change, be stable in those particular areas. So we'll look at that lens very carefully around balancing stability with the necessary changes that keep us competitive in the marketplace. And the third thing is, we have to have, during times of change, and I've experienced this throughout my career, during times of change, there's nothing more important than communication. It's kind of that saying, let's talk. We have to have an open and transparent dialogue. Now, I have a 400,000 partner ecosystem, from network member to maps to the competency partners. That means a lot of my communications have to be at scale. We've got to leverage those scale engines to have an open and transparent dialogue. But we also have interactions with many of you that are smaller, like this one, and even smaller that are occasionally one-on-one. Every time we have to be really clear about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what's the rationale behind what we're doing. One thing I've also learned is, again, in the term partner, it's pretty generic. I've sat in a room and had some healthy discussions where multiple partners in the room, believe it or not, didn't agree on the right decision. Can you believe that? We said, we're going to do this, and one partner said, best idea ever, and the other one said, you're crazy, you can't do that. But what I learned in those discussions is if you start with the principles that are driving your decision-making process, you explain the rationale behind the decision, it's accepted more. It may mean one partner is well on track and another one has to adjust, but it enables us to have the kind of dialogue that you'd expect between business partners.
Great. I just want to thank you again for being here today.
Sure.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you. I think there are a couple of things you wanted to leave us with.
Yeah, I just wanted to close with my commitment to you in this role. Look, I'm fortunate to be the #1 partner advocate in a company that really doesn't need partner advocacy per se. They believe in partnering at its core. It's been our history. I just want you to leave knowing that we don't think partnering is less important for our future than it has been in our past. That is a really important message that I leave behind. The second thing is one of the themes that I've introduced to my team and my extended team. So things we do globally and things we do locally is to put a filter around how do we keep working hard to make Microsoft a simpler company to partner with, to reduce the cost of partnering with us, and to increase the business value of being a partner, because that will happen if we don't. That's what I tell my team every day. But if we can do those, that was pretty good. If we can do those three things really, really well, we'll continue to drive greater business opportunity for you and greater profitability. And I want to be clear, not everything we do in those three categories is newsworthy. It's not all an event. It's doing the little things. Doing a lot of little things accumulate and are accretive to some really big progress we will make. And then the last one I've already talked about. It's the open dialogue. So thank you so much for coming here and joining us today. Thank you for your attention. And look, I have never been more bullish about the opportunity for Microsoft. I've never been more bullish about the opportunity for our partners. So let's go realize that together. Thanks.
Thanks, Phil. Really appreciate it.